And we're back yet again. One more set of lectures out of the way. Now we're coming in to lab number 16. Now, lab number 16, just like the last couple, is another simulation. And it's a simulation all about NSX network detection and response. And so we're going to use this. We're going to go through this process. We're going to kind of look at some events and see some things that are going on in NDR, and we're going to look at these threat detection campaigns that we can visualize with NDR. So let's go ahead and load up the simulation here. This may take a second. It may take a minute. It may only take a couple of seconds. I guess we'll see here very shortly how long this takes to complete loading up. And there it is. Only took an extra second or two. Not too bad. So we're going to look at setting up NDR. Now, in the simulation here, we're going to also enable distributed intrusion detection and prevention. So we'll get to see that process again, even though we've already done it in our lab. We're going to get to see it one more time. Repetition is not a bad thing. So what are we going to do? We're going to start off by opening Chrome and logging into NSX here in the simulation. We're going to come over to the System tab and go to NSX Application Platform. Now, we need to do this because we need to enable network detection and response. So we'll go ahead and scroll down and activate NSX NDR. Now, if you remember from the previous simulation when we deployed malware prevention, that we made the note that said the cloud region that we're selecting is going to impact both malware prevention and NDR. And we can see here that the cloud region selection is grayed out. So we can't select it again. We've already chosen the United States region for the Advanced Threat Analyzer Cloud. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down and run our pre-checks, our license checks and things of that nature. And we know that they ran successfully because the activate button lit up down here. So that's blue. We can click that, and that's exactly what we want to do. And so we can see that we did some work and we had a status change in NDR, but malware prevention also did some stuff as well. So now that's all said and done, let's go ahead and check it out. Let's look at it. Let's make sure it did what we expected it to do. So we'll go ahead and log back into our Kubernetes control plane, virtual machine SAK8S CTRL01. And we'll go ahead and type in here, press a key in here to look for the pods in the NSXi platform namespace, looking for Cloud Connector and NSX NDR. And we hit enter to run that. And look at that. There's our Cloud Connector pods. There are a ton of NSX NDR pods that have been set up and that are running for us to use. So let's go back to Chrome. And now we're going to come over to security. And this is where we're going to get into setting up the distributed intrusion detection and prevention. So if we remember from the lab where we did this, we're going to come into IDS, IPS, and malware prevention. We'll come over to the settings tab, and over in shared settings, we'll need to scroll down. And we're going to go ahead and enable intrusion detection and prevention on the compute cluster. We get the pop-up that says, are you sure this is what you want to do? Of course it is. Of course it is. So now we're going to go ahead and scroll back up and go to the Profiles tab. We're going to add an IDS IPS profile. We'll go ahead and give it a name. Under IDS signatures, we're going to go ahead and drop the low and suspicious checks so that we don't have low severity or suspicious severity signatures included. And we'll go ahead and scroll down and save our East-West IDPS profile. We're going to come over to distributed rules, and we need to create a new policy. We'll go ahead and set that up, and we will add a rule. And we're going to name it East-West IDPS rule. We'll go ahead and select a security profile, our east-west IDPS profile that we just created. That's what we're looking at. We'll apply that change and we want to publish so that this gets programmed into the data plane. Now we're going to go ahead and generate some traffic so that NDR has something to look at. We'll come into login in vSphere. Let's go ahead and log into that. We'll click in our username and our password field and log in. And let's find our Ubuntu 1A virtual machine and launch the web console here. Now here we're going to launch a shell, a super user shell. We're going to type in the password, and then we're going to change to root, and we're going to run a TCP replay command. Now we saw this again too, where we're going to replay a packet capture across the ENS160 interface. So we'll go ahead and run that, and there it is, right? Ran in 0.3 seconds. So good stuff there. Now that that's run, we've got some traffic that we can identify. Let's open up the NSX browser and look at threat event monitoring. Go to IDS IPS. And we actually see a critical test, right? Detect a benign HTTP request used for testing NSX products. Well, that's pretty obvious. So that's what we just tested to trigger our intrusion detection and prevention. Right? Now, we see this one event. That's great. I know it's not a lot. It's just a lab environment. So let's go back over on the over here and scroll down. We can see, that we've seen this. We have identified what's going on. It's Trojan activity. There's only one detected event here, so we can see what we caught. Now we're going to come up to security overview here in the security navigation panel over on the left hand side here. And under threat event monitoring, we will see that we default to the campaigns tab. And we now notice that there's one active campaign, one open high impact campaign, one VM affected. That all lines up with what we've got going on. So let's go ahead and go to our campaigns. This should pop open a new browser tab. And this is our network detection and response UI. So there's our campaign. That's the campaign we saw in the security overview. So we'll go ahead and click that and start taking a look, right? We can see our threats and hosts, one threat, one host. It's in the command and control phase. We can see the blueprint down here, which gives us a visual representation of the campaign and what's going on. That's pretty cool stuff. We're going to come up here to the timeline tab, and we can see that we just saw an event. So we're going to go ahead and expand that out next to the IP address here so that we can see the evidence that we've collected. This signature, it's a 90% confidence score. It's interacting with 35.238.157.54, wherever that might be. Right? We can come over here and view all of our threat details and see what's going on. We've got a campaign UID, one incident, start and end time. It's open. It's a Tesla crypt threat. That's that's in the command and control. The command and control set of threats, right? So that class. If we expand out events, we can see the event that has happened. I know in a lot of ways it looks like the same information in different formats, and that's very much going to be a thing because we're going to have different people we're going to have to talk to about this. We may need evidence. We may just need to show events, and so on and so forth. The threat description, if we look at that, threats in this class are used to control botnets, and then we give you some more description about why this is a big deal. Right? And how do we mitigate? Well, we've got our mitigation here. Let's scroll down. The threat class indicates the machine has been infected with some kind of command and control type software, and it talks about different ways that we can kind of mitigate that. Now, we also note that Some of these tools cannot mitigate all kinds of infections. So we need to keep an eye on what's going on to see if we've gone ahead and closed this out. But when it comes down to it, this is the type of information that NDR can provide to us, right? It gives us that really, really quick, useful information, what I think is useful information at least, so that we can actually identify these kinds of things and hopefully resolve them fairly quickly. So that's NDR. That's what we have going on here. Now, the future labs, the rest of the labs in this class are all going to be live labs. We're done with the simulations for this one, and that's okay. Sometimes we just need some simulations to reliably perform some activities. So you've seen it. This is really good stuff. It's very, very worth looking at in your environment. So come back. We've got cool stuff coming up. See you soon.